Hey everyone, my name is Sam and welcome to today's video where I am going to be reviewing and flicking through the pages of Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman, Omnibus Volume 1, published by Marvel Comics. So we have the standard edition here, and here is the spine of the book. And here it is on the shelf, just so you can get an idea of what it will look like next to Volume 2. And here we have the direct market cover, which is also illustrated by Alan Davis, the same artist behind the standard edition cover. And here we have the back of the book featuring a spread of the Fantastic Four, some quotes, a brief synopsis, and what the book contains, which is the Dark Reign Fantastic Four issues 1 to 5, material from Dark Reign The Cabal, Fantastic Four 570 to 588, and FF issues 1 to 5. Here is what the board of the book looks like next to the dust jacket. I'm actually going to just show you the inserts for the dust jacket here. So on the left we have a synopsis of the book. There is also a review from IGN at the top, and on the right hand side we have an overview of the different creators involved with the book, including Jonathan Hickman and all of these artists who contributed to the series as well. So, here's what the completed dust jacket looks like, and before I open the book and start flicking through the pages, I just wanted to show what the actual board looks like. So we have a textless version of the standard edition cover, a black spine now, no volume number or image or creator names anymore. And on the back we actually have the direct market cover with it's also a textless version. But now it's finally time to start flicking through the book. Okay, so we have these white end sheets that lead into the credits for the book, and sort of like this title page here. It's worth noting early on as well that this book doesn't actually use the comic covers to split up the story and show you each individual issue. I believe that Hickman likes to map these omnis personally, and what he does is compile all of the issue covers at the end of the book, and the idea is to read this as like one continuous immersive story. So, I mean, personally, I'm not that fussed about that approach, but it I will I'll definitely give him credit when it comes to how seamless this story felt. It was a very smooth reading experience, and compared to the other Hickman works that I've read, um, I've only read his Krakoa X-Men stuff and the ongoing Ultimate Spider-Man series. Um, and Ultimate Spider-Man is phenomenal, and I think that the supporting role that Spider-Man has in this book is a testament to that. But as for the X-Men stuff, I haven't read like the Claremont X-Men stuff yet, which I know is blasphemous, but um, I found the X-Men Krakoa era to be quite overwhelming. I did enjoy it for the most part, but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, I was a bit hesitant to actually dive into this book because I was expecting it to be a bit of a slow burn, packed with a lot of science and setup and lore building, and I mean, to some extent, there is all of that. But I think with the Fantastic Four, it works really well because there's this focus on the family dynamic. I mean, it's Marvel's first family after all. Um, I mean, I'd also consider them like my favorite team in Marvel Comics as well. Um, and I think these issues at the start here, these are sort of setting up the actual main run. So right now, this is the Dark Reign issues, which mainly feature Norman Osborn in sort of like the I believe it's like the Dark Avengers era, but it also establishes this idea of the bridge, which is a um, device invented by Reed Richards that allows him to essentially travel across uh, different realities, which leads to the introduction of the Council of Reeds right here. And this becomes a very this is probably one of the highlights of the book actually, and not just in the sense that it sort of brings things onto like it puts things into like a much grander scale with like more stakes, but um, I suppose that it's the drama that stems from it as well. Reed's desire to solve everything, as he puts it, is a really compelling sort of character arc for him because it's coming between him and his family, and by extension, these other alternate versions of Reed that he is meeting. They are causing him to consider, like, does he go and join these guys who have essentially abandoned their families? And I think in a way, like I can see a lot of people really disliking Reed for being so wrapped up in his own head and trying to solve all of his problems on his own. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of us can relate to this, and just having like a very flawed protagonist is always it's always like the best thing you can do really in stories like this. And I know that it sounds like this run has been very like Mr. Fantastic heavy so far, and I'd say for the first arc it's definitely more Mr. Fantastic's story, and everyone else is really more taking more of a supporting role. At least that's what it felt like to me. But as the series goes on, I think Hickman manages to balance the dynamics between Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and the Thing really, really smoothly, and he gives each of them something unique to do. Sort of pushes each of their characters into entirely new directions in ways that I didn't expect. And I think this might actually be some of the some of the best Fantastic Four material I've read so far. I was kind of surprised how much I enjoyed all of the time travel and sort of multiversal shenanigans that were um, sort of included here. Like normally, I'm sort of like I'm not really that bothered by like time travel or multiversal stories in comic books. I think it's something that usually works a lot better. At least for time travel, I think it works better like on screen. And multiversal stuff is like yeah, I'll take it or leave it at this point. But with Hickman's writing, it becomes entirely like an entirely new experience, which I was really invested in. To my surprise, like it was, um, I think what made it work so well was how naturally it worked alongside the sort of family drama side of things. Like it was really well done. Like, and I'm assuming that Volume 2 is going to be packed with even more moments like this. Um, and it's something that the Fantastic Four has always been associated with as well. Their they're adventurers before they're superheroes, you know. So I've only ever read the only other Fantastic Four runs that I've actually read are oh, I love this issue. Oh, it's such a good issue. It's like a slice of life sort of thing. There's a Spider-Man appearance in here as well. Love it. But yeah, the only other two runs that I've read are the Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo run from the early 2000s, which I loved that. It was my first Fantastic Four um, series, and I'm also reading the ongoing Ryan North run. I'm collecting it in trade paperbacks right now, and I absolutely love it. I think by the time it's finished, it could become my favourite, although we'll have to see how Volume 2 of Hickman's run unfolds as well. There's only like there were only two things that I knew going into this run that I know about beforehand, just by like being on the internet or like in this sort of community of comic book readers. Like, so I knew about the Council of Reeds, which I wouldn't really consider a spoiler because it happens in like the first arc, pretty much. Um, Now, as for the other one, I'll sort of save it for later. But it's the reason why the book is rebranded as the FF, so to speak. Um, and it's a good time to mention that um, this book is also packed like full of Marvel characters outside of the Fantastic Four. So you saw Spider-Man and Hulk make brief appearances so far. You've got a bunch of recognizable Fantastic Four villains like Galactus, Mole Man, Annihilus, and of course Doctor Doom. Um, Namor's in here somewhere. He actually ties into the Invisible Woman's sort of storyline throughout this first volume, which in like a really interesting way. Um, for one reason or another, Sue volunteers to become the Queen of Old Atlantis, and this creates an entirely new dynamic for the Fantastic Four. And I was. This was another thing about this run that I was surprised with how invested I was in. like, I don't know. I wasn't sure if this was going to go anywhere, but it just kept building sort of in the background, and I think that's really what Hickman is known for. It's planting seeds early on and slowly building upon them, and then building up to these like very rewarding payoffs, so to speak. Um, I should also say as well, this the artwork in here is it's phenomenal. Like it walks the line between like science fiction and like realism, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, we have the Inhumans here as well. I'll be honest, I don't really care for the Inhumans. If anyone has any like recommendations for reading material where I might end up caring about the Inhumans, but anyway. Now we're sort of getting into the final arc of the Fantastic Four before it relaunches as FF at the end of the book, and it's called 3, which implies that we are about to lose one of the members of the team. And this was the second thing I knew about this series before I had read it. Having been a fan of comics for, like over 10 years at this point, I'm bound to have stumbled across The Last Stand of Johnny Storm here. Um, I love that page there. And so I knew about this going in, but I was just surprised by how moved I was by it. So this issue here is about the month of mourning, and it's essentially like it's like a textless issue. There's no speech, and it's just exploring the impact that the loss of the Human Torch has on the Marvel Universe. And I think that the standouts in this are the Invisible Woman and the Thing in particular. Of course, Sue's lost her brother, and the Thing is sort of wrecked with this guilt of not being able to save Johnny. And like I said, I was just so surprised by how moved I was by this issue, considering that, you know, death is not really taken that seriously in comics these days. Like, if a character is killed off, um, you're almost expecting them to come back in like 6 months' time at the most, or something like. Um, but here it's like it was handled with such nuance and care that I'm not even bothered that I know the outcome. And I should also note as well, I loved Spider-Man's inclusion in this issue, and also this with Thor and Hulk sort of confronting the Thing. It's phenomenal. Probably one of my top 10 favorite issues, like standalone issues ever. And I don't even have a list of that, but if I did have one, this would make that top 10, I think. I'm quite confident in that. And this is sort of like a backup story in issue 588. Um, so issue 588 was for the month of mourning, and this backup story here is Spider-Man bonding with Reed and Sue's son Franklin um, over the loss of Johnny. And sort of Spider-Man telling him about Uncle Ben, and it's really a testament to how well versed Hickman is when it comes to writing Spider-Man. Like he he very much understands the character, and it shows in these sort of 8 pages here. Um, and I think that going into volume 2, I'm very excited to see how he writes Spider-Man, because if his Ultimate Spider-Man series is anything to go off of, it's I'm definitely gonna adore Volume 2, which I've never read. But yeah, with that was the end of the Fantastic Four series, and now we're going into the Future Foundation, or FF as the series is called. So we have Spider-Man being recruited to replace um, Johnny, and there's a lot of time for Spider-Man and Sue to sort of have heart-to-heart conversations, and since Reed's wrapped up in his science and the Future Foundation, and the Thing is obviously still wrecked with grief, so he's sort of staying to himself, really, being very closed off. Um, but I loved seeing how Spider-Man was brought into this, and it made it so that the tone wasn't just, much more serious and a little melancholic. It was Spider-Man's there to kind of lift the book up just enough to where it doesn't feel like it's forced in or ruining the serious moments. It's adding like nice moments of like leverage. And something I want to highlight on this page here as well is the unique perspective that Hickman applies to the Thing's character, where he's feeling sort of out of place on the team because everyone else is so wrapped up in their own thing. Like almost everyone's doing like science, and like Sue's off like trying to basically manage the team while Reed is focusing on the Future Foundation side of things. So the Thing is sort of questioning his place on the team, and it was like a really unique perspective that I very much appreciated, because I think the Thing is also the most probably like the most nuanced member of the team, which is why he's my favourite as well. And just jumping ahead to the cover gallery. So this is where all the textless covers for each individual issue um, is placed in the book. There's a very iconic cover to me, anyway, by Alan Davis. Most of these have been illustrated by Alan Davis, and I think that Alan Davis is the artist I most associate with Hickman's Fantastic Four. I'd say a lot of these pieces are quite iconic to me. So is this one by Steve Epting right here for the first issue of FF. Doctor Doom there, and I also didn't know that Mark Bagley did one. That's cool. Um, Here's some variant covers, and here we actually get a better look at the new costumes for the Future Foundation. These pretty iconic black and white costumes, and I love that we got this included at the back of the book. It's the script for the silent issue, and I just really appreciate like these bonus extras. Like I always love seeing how um, these stories are sort of constructed behind the scenes, so to speak. But yeah, that about covers it. Thank you for making it this far into the video. If you're still watching, I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching, I guess. Goodbye.